Okay, we will call to order the Tourism and Arts Commission meeting for Monday, September 30th at 3 p.m. First order on the agenda is approval of minutes from May 31st and June 13th. Would anyone have any changes or?
Minutes. I'm sorry, this wasn't your minutes, was it?
No,
I can tell.
yeah,
Oh, the first one?
the first one.
And then I thought, well, wait, how come I didn't vote yes on that? Oh, March 19th.
Oh, you weren't here yet.
That was the March 19th meeting. Okay, yeah, because I was looking at that thing at Sinkler. Wait a minute.
What? Wait, Stephen? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The only change that I had on the May 31st was under action one, the vote should have been Sinkler Gast Brown, because I was here, but Drea was excused.
Got it.
And then all the others were the interviews.
And there's still a few more I need to get caught up on.
Okay,
I'm also behind on council minutes too.
I know. Me either. That was the only thing on that. So with that one modification, someone want to,
Move to approve.
okay, do I have a second? Okay, all those. Do we need to do, we don't need to vote on that.
You do.
We do? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hi, Drea, sorry. Drea's on there. All those opposed? Okay. Action item 2 is Sea Turtles Forever.
No, minutes of
Oh, minutes.
June 13th meeting,
Oh, June. Why do I have?
March 19th, May 31st and June 13th.
We have,
Do we have multiple in
Do we
there?
not need to approve March 31st or March 19th?
you're supposed to approve March 31st and June 13th.
May 31st in June.
May 31st.
May 31st and June 13th.
I think we canceled the meeting that. We canceled one meeting in there, so maybe it's listed but not.
No, it's just these two.
Okay, just those two. Okay.
I see what it was now. Sorry.
Yeah, the March was in the actual minutes
Yes,
themselves.
I see.
Okay. So are we good on that?
Well, Tom, did you want to approve both at the same motion?
Sure.
Yeah.
know.
both at the same motion.
Thank you, sorry. I've mentioned both of them. Sea Turtles Forever, we received an email from Mark today saying he was unfortunately caught up and not going to be in attendance. But to forward on any questions that we might have. So I don't know if everyone had a chance to look over the event plan and budget. If there are any questions or,
My papers got all mixed up in my.
Well, I did look it over and I appreciate he's really making an effort to make this thing fit and that's good. But he's still saying, what was it, 22, I don't have the exact number in front of me right now, it's 2,200 and something per event, 2,200.
23.
382.
2382 per
Yeah.
event. And conveniently came up with 15 events to come back to that same 35,000.
Yeah.
And okay, is he gonna get 15 events off? I doubt it. But I don't feel good about being the sole supporter of this thing. So, you know, I would probably be inclined to do a portion of it. What portion, I'm not quite sure. I haven't figured that out yet. But that's kind of my comment is I don't think I would be too excited about being the sole supporter of the whole thing. So, and I realize that, you know, he says 15 events and if he pulls off 10, he only gets funding for 10.
Mhm.
But still, I don't think we should be the sole support.
When you look at his budget, it looks like it's back to just his traditional operating costs. So there's nothing that is related just to this being a special event. These are what he would have for any event.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so that was the thing Ashley wanted is we could approve the portion that makes it the special event. So whatever we decided, we would run past Ashley to make sure also
that it fit.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, there's that too, so.
To me, it doesn't feel like this fits at all. I mean, I just can't. It just doesn't seem like this is the place that should be doing the funding for that. To me.
I agree. I mean, it all along has sort of felt like it's a, round peg that we're trying to cram
Yeah.
in a square hole here somehow, so.
Mhm.
My question came up, yeah, I was kind of doing the backward math calculation and trying to figure it out, but in here, he was talking about a team member for every 5 to 10 volunteers. And when I'm looking at that, I'm like, that's kind of a bigger discrepant, I mean, then the administration costs are basically double if you're just saying, oh, I'm only working 1 on 5 versus 1 on 10. So I was like, is there a way to reduce that amount if you have a smaller group rather than, again, kind of back to what are the costs really involved? If you can get away with 1 for every 10 people, then isn't that what you should be normalized and be doing? Yeah, and I kind of feel like, if there was a big event that took place more on those shoulder seasons that maybe we could really hype up and have it be a big one, then maybe that fits more the event base with some baseline. Cause does community grants, or do they have the same restrictions that we have, or can it be operating costs?
Anything, community grants is just something that's the betterment of the community.
Okay.
And the only qualification is you have to be a nonprofit.
Okay,
So they're not used, tourism funds. It's 100% general funded.
okay.
And did he get a community
And
grant?
he did get a community grant this year. So he did, and I can tell you how much, quick second. Community grants. For 25. It looks like they were recommending $9,642.
I unfortunately don't have the last meeting's notes where he kind of had his entire budget out. Trying to see what was streamlined off of that for this, if that makes sense, like the director position or,
I can,
I don't know, I'm torn on this one. Again, I feel like it's kind of being forced to fit a mold that,
Yes, it feels like he's back here.
yeah,
But he hasn't really changed anything to make it really fit the way Ashley wants it to fit. Well,
Yeah.
Ashley says it needs to fit. But I struggle because Greg has a good point, which
Yeah.
is the promotion of what we're doing is definitely something that would be worthwhile. He is not a PR person. He is not a marketer.
Mhm.
He isn't the person that can take advantage of that.
yeah,
That's the hard part. So it's like, do you fund, like you said, one big event that we can actually get, that somebody, not us, but somebody would have to get behind and promote. I don't know who that is or how that happens. And he won't either because he's not gonna go out and hire a PR person or, that's not his gig,
the chamber do that for,
The
that's,
chamber has so much on its plate
Yeah.
already. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, if this were money to promote that and they were gonna hire somebody to promote it, I would think that would be better use of tourism and arts and it fits more.
Doing actually wouldn't have a problem with that at all, but he's not thinking like that and he's not that person.
mhm,
Right.
yeah,
And to say that they're gonna do 15 events on the off season seems a little
Ow.
ambitious when they can't really,
weather dependent.
yeah, when it's weather dependent, that seems pretty, I don't know. Little fishy.
This is where I want Greg to pipe in.
It's something we can talk about now and we don't have to make a decision now.
Okay,
And that's what's the great thing is we can make a decision at any time. He said he would be he would be happy to answer any of our questions. I don't, just looking at the budget he submitted, his actual grants, I mean, you have a lot of the same things in here, you know, your equipment, your bags, the insurance, it's everything he submitted from the first round, just pared down,
Mhm.
you know,
It's operational,
it's operational.
so that doesn't help us.
But we could also, we could send this to Ashley and just say, hey, do you agree that this looks like it's all operation and nothing special event? And then we can continue. And I can also ask her, is there a way that well, she's already told us what we need to do as far as that, but, like we talked about before about funding the marketing portion of it.
Right. That's it.
He's not asking
marketer.
for, no,
He's
but
not a
if he were
marketer.
to come back with a revised proposal saying, would you fund my marketing campaign for this? And here's my proposal. Maybe if we told him that's what could be funded. If Ashley said that's what could be funded, but like you said, he'd have to actually hire somebody to do it because
Yeah.
he can't do it.
Because he can't do it himself, he's not a marketer. So I wish there was, I mean, you're right, that the first thing I thought is maybe the chamber could go, it's like, oh, it's right before Fat Bike and, because I'm on both boards now, I'm on this and that, so it's like, there's no way that we can add another thing to the chamber, to the stuff that's on the plate of the chamber.
yeah,
Whew.
that's why I asked.
Yeah.
I was like, I never know what the.
A PR person in town
Yeah,
or anybody who could actually do that, because that's kind of what you would need is somebody to go out to the TV stations and the paper and that kind of stuff to say, hey, this thing is going on. We would have this event on, in April. Would you come out and cover it? That's what you need somebody to do. He's not going to do that.
yeah,
He's not going to do that.
okay,
And he wants us to fund what he's doing operationally, and that's
Yeah.
not, you can't do that.
do that. Well, I think it's worth flipping back to Ashley to just say,
We tried again. This is what we received.
this is what we have,
This is how we interpret it. Do you agree?
yeah. And,
I wish there was somebody I could tell him, hey, why don't you call Tracy Abel and see if she would help you with that or whatever, but I don't think, not operational stuff, but
the PR.
PR portion of it, but I'm not sure that Tracy's wanting to take that on either, also in April when her big
Yeah.
event is, so.
Well, and I guess, yeah, I mean, having the PR part done doesn't help cover the operational costs, but
What he wants.
which is what he wants. And is there a benefit to him of getting more publicity?
Not if you can't hire people to handle the publicity,
Yeah,
it's kind of a catch.
Yeah.
22.
okay.
Oh, boy.
Well, no resolution, I say. Any other comments on that?
Don't have any-
Tom, are you good? Drea?
No, I land kind of where everybody else lands.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's send it back. Let's get, and Greg may have, see it from a different angle too, than what we're looking at it at, but
And we can, whenever if we were able to work something out, we can still go to council. I mean, we have the money the whole fiscal year.
okay.
So you've got money, you've
Okay.
got time.
June's our fiscal year?
Yeah,
Okay,
so you're only a few months into it.
okay, okay.
It goes right fast.
It does. Okay, well, let's move on to item 3, which is reviewing the tourism and arts ordinance and tourism and arts fund program.
Okay, so sorry that I kept piecemealing your packet. It was like every day I had another thing came in, so I do apologize for that. So we do have Ashley made some comments, some additional
Oh, okay,
comments too.
Boy.
And so it's on the page that shows her actual comments. It was in the amended packet.
Email was sent in because I saw it the other day. Can't find it with her comments. Do you have a hard copy of it?
But yeah. I had a clip together and I tossed it in my car this morning. flying, so everything I have.
Oh, no.
Mess.
The one in your hand right there above it.
That one, yeah, okay.
That's the one.
And
think it was
didn't we
in the
look at this
amended
last time?
packet.
Huh? Didn't we look at this last?
We
time?
It's different.
Yeah, I saw it and I read through it.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
but then it looks like she made some additional
Additional changes, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So the green is existing, the red is what we were trying to add. I'm trying to,
Yeah, so the
Okay.
green was existing and the first part of that was pretty much copied verbatim
yeah,
from what we have right now.
okay.
So, you know, her comments on that are, I guess, just adjustments to what had been there before.
In my opinion, her first comment about leaving out the 70% of the 1%, I would like to see that remain in there.
Why?
Why? Because I think it provides more understanding for people that are reading it and for more visibility of what we're actually, the funds we're actually spending,
Where the money's coming from.
where the money's coming from.
The hard part for me is since, when it was 1% of the lodging tax, that's 3 tax raises ago. That's the problem.
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah, that was the 1% back in whatever, 2011 or 12 or whatever.
okay.
So
So you,
people might be confused about, well, which tax?
which one is,
The last one was 1.5, I think, but that was for this whole, the school and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So I understand what you guys are saying, though.
well, I see your view on that too. I don't know. I guess it just helps me keep in line my own mental state of what is going, what percentages where, but
Dedicated to support it. But I'm not sure I understand her comment either. It's like, the council had dedicated to support it, but it's also state law. But if you raise
yeah.
your taxes, 70% of it has to go to tourism
Yeah.
development.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Maybe just change it to 70% of the effective lodging tax. Not one, because this says 1% that was effective as of July 1, 2010.
oh, she did, oh, it is in there as 20.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
2010. So, you know, now if it's gone up to 1.5 or whatever.
Oh, that was an
Try to put some-
additional layer though.
That was an additional later. There
And
was
we're not
another
getting-
additional one in.
We don't get that.
We don't get that.
We don't get that.
So we get 70% of this 1% that is
I-
different percentages,
I agree.
correct?
Now that I see the 2010, I think I agree with you.
Okay,
Because it does say it is from the 2010 lodging tax increase. Because that's true.
But don't you get a portion from all of the lodging and tax, no matter which
No?
increase it is?
Nope.
I didn't believe so, but I could be totally wrong.
Not separately. The DMO, one of the other tax increases was for specifically
School.
chamber to be the DMO. And then there was another increase that went for the school and that whole thing. Bruce can probably talk to that, but that was 3 tax increases ago, or 2 tax
So
increases ago.
you don't get the 1% of the 70% of those?
No,
Oh.
I didn't believe so.
broken into separate buckets.
But every year they go up,
Yes,
and you get
knock
that,
on wood.
and you get that.
But
But
like, we have a bucket that was from the 2010 increase.
Only.
But the ones, yeah, but the other ones that came through, no, they're different buckets and they're used for different things.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Does that sound right, Bruce?
Yes.
Okay.
I just.
Sorry, I just really thought
Yeah.
we were swimming in.
I just assumed like that 1% was, and I know you get exactly what the chamber gets because your budgets mirror each other.
Yeah, because that was the 1% increase as well.
Okay, wow, I got.
Yeah.
And the only reason I understood that was because Greg's broken it down so many times. So that was my take on it.
That recently happened, that has to do with the school and not this.
Oh, that's right, because the tourism portion of that goes to the school.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
Yes,
My brain
so
is
they are separate buckets.
Separate.
So that's why I felt it was important to keep that so that everyone didn't think, oh, all the TAF or all the TLT taxes were our pool.
I'm okay with keeping that now that we
Okay.
just had to clarify it for Jennifer. No wonder they could put it in, but
Oh,
billions.
does anyone disagree with that?
And we can explain to Ashley why.
Okay,
Yeah, and I have no issue with her TAF substitute
No.
yeah,
there.
just for ease.
Or the word promotion, I have no issue with that. Did, so I understand what she did here, where she crossed out the commission shall ensure the proper blah, 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 blah.
Which one are you on? I'm sorry.
I'm still,
First.
the last sentence in A.
In A, oh, okay.
And was that sentence in the original? And then she's taking it out of the original?
Let me
Yeah, that was my question.
peek at the.
Oh, and she doesn't comment about why she took that out.
No,
No.
and I didn't know,
Let me see, I've got the original right here.
I mean,
Unless she's saying that
Yeah, that was,
cross this off because you put the other one in that says the council is dedicated to support it. You know what I'm saying? That,
I wonder, okay.
that was in the
You
original.
have a comment, though. I do think I understand why, because what we're doing is expanding what we're doing. And then the directives of when the ordinance was passed was very, very specific, pretty much event oriented, although it just ended up to be that way. So what we're doing is, because the council has asked us to expand our scope, maybe that's why she wants that out, because they've asked us to expand it. And then when this was passed, this committee was tasked with a very specific thing.
oh, I get
I think that's why she took it out.
why she's saying,
Because because we've been asked, we're not trying to do it because we're taking over. Council asked us to take over more or to be broader.
okay, yeah, that's a valid point.
I wonder if that's why she took it out, because it was a very specific thing that council asked us to do when that 1% was passed.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
that's a valid question for sure.
So I guess I would just ask that we get some clarification from Ashley that that's what her thinking was, and I would go along with that then. That makes sense.
And the commission shall ensure the proper implementation of such statute and the directives of the ordinance.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got here my original that I wrote up.
Yeah,
And so that was in the original ordinance that we've been operating under in the past.
but then we're eliminating anything that talks about proper implementation.
I think probably.
Does that follow down later on?
Oh, proper amounts are distributed and recipients on a quarterly basis. Oh, use of the grants. Okay, yep, that makes sense.
And I agree with what she's saying about E, the decisions of the commission are appealable to the city council. We are not making decisions, we're making recommendations. And anything that, we're making the recommendations, but city council is the one that approves them.
And actually, yeah, because and that could be original language too, but you really can't appeal them because council has to approve them anyways.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. And if you were mad about, well, and in fact, I believe
Get lit.
the bicycle trail people
Oh, yes.
came to a city council meeting because they were concerned that they were going to be voted down the first time when they did vote it.
Oh, okay.
And they came and spoke because they were for our recommendation, but they were concerned at city council. So they came and spoke for it. It was still voted down, but they came.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What about if I changed it to say the recommendations of the commission are presented to the city council for approval?
Yeah, that makes,
Mhm.
Yeah,
because that's what really
Because
happened.
that's really what happens.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm looking at like the Get Lit example of them prior to the city council approving our recommendations.
well, it does,
Tracy went and spoke and then they decided during their vote to, do a different amount of higher than what we averaged out.
Here, I was not
Yeah,
part of that.
yeah. So that wasn't an appeal either
But
because,
she came.
Yeah. so she came
Was
and,
concerned about the
Yeah.
recommendations because they had voted less money.
yes,
Or no money.
doesn't D cover that? At the end where it says this information shall be presented to the city council for review and approval.
But then this also, D is referring specifically to TAF. So I think DE would cover anything that's not TAF,
oh, yeah,
maybe.
How would that,
Right.
how does that affect us though? We are taxed.
You mean us as a council,
It's taxed.
Yeah,
but we're taxed.
but we're,
Yeah, so we're TAC and that's referencing the funds, the tourism and arts funds, because it specifically mentions TAC. And so
Gotcha.
one would be referring to the grants and one would be referring to everything else.
Everything else. I
That's
gotcha.
how I
okay.
see this, because that's kind of the situation you're in, because all of your code is all about TAF, not anything else.
Right.
And we want the anything else.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because city council requested it.
yes.
Yes, okay. I see. But we're still not making decisions. Still just
We're-
making
we're making
recommendations. Yeah.
We're making recommendations,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
So the example she's asking for on making recommendations would be an example of us coming to them, to city council and saying, we think, number one, we should start focusing on accessibility, and this is the way we think we should start doing that. That's what an example of that would
Yes.
be.
Yep.
Yeah, for her. Or public art, or, fill in the blank,
Yeah.
fill in the blank.
Lights at the bandstand, any of those things.
Yes.
Yeah. We would come to them with a recommendation and what we want to do, how it would work, and they say yes or no.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
So she's saying, do we need A and B?
Oh, yeah, because it can say draft and present
Yeah.
proposals.
Yeah.
So let's draft and present. both of these. And
okay.
then I want to take out then, because the A specifically relates to tourism. So I actually want to take out A and leave it with B because it's broader then. Is that okay?
I'm sorry, do what?
So let's take out A because A specifically says issues related to tourism. And B is just, we're gonna present proposals in general. So it doesn't limit it to tourism.
Tourism.
Or if I keep A, it limits you to tourism.
But don't we have to be?
Limited to tourism.
Oh, it's tourism and arts.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I confused myself. So develop, draft and present.
So, okay, did we deal with E?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one's done. Oh my God, you turn it over and it's even more.
I know.
Oh, what colors were what?
Oh, you're not even-
I have no. I did a color key over here.
This is where I love track changes and this is where I don't like.
I know.
Because it's-
Oversight of tourism and arts program. At the request of the council, oversee the implementation of programs related to tourism.
And I think that was some of the changes we made at the last one,
Yeah,
where we took out policies and made it more proposals.
yeah.
So I have a question on this one. Where it says, at the request of council, oversee the implementation of programs related to tourism and arts to ensure compliance with the council's intent. Does that mean we're overseeing?
The minutia?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm asking,
I think
you
what
know?
I've always kind of wondered with it.
That's the big question.
Let's take accessibility as an example.
Yeah.
So if we say, we should be doing accessibility, and the council said, yeah. And so the chamber and the city we get together and we start talking about accessibility. Are they reporting to us like the people doing events are reporting to us?
Or are we having to implement, oversee?
No.
No,
So
we're
can't-
overseeing, not implementing.
So this is how I see it happening, is you go to council and say, I think we need to do Moby mats, we've talked to the chamber, we're gonna partner this together. We've talked to A-Trap, we've all gotten along, chamber's gonna do, A-Trap's gonna do this. We would need city staff to do this part. And they say, yes, I think that's a great option. And then they basically say, I think you should go forward with it. So then we get together with everyone and we say, hey, council said, great, you can do this, they loved your plan. And then at the end of the month, we're gonna ask them maybe once a month to send you guys a write-up of what happened with that, so you can oversee what's been implemented. And then that way it keeps you guys abreast of
In the
what's
loop,
happening in
yeah.
the loop.
Yeah.
And then if you see some concerns with it, you can always go back to council and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. I could see that where at one point it might come out from under TAC,
Mhm.
but it's
Yeah,
kind of to keep you guys in it, because you don't, it's kind of like your baby then. You don't want to just like be gone with it, but this will keep them where you're not in charge of it,
Right.
but you get to still oversee it to make sure it's in line with what you guys originally proposed.
That
That's how
totally makes sense to me.
I was seeing.
Yes. Now, could we insert the word broader implementation or something to that? Is there a defining word that,
Well, council, in order to oversee anything, council's gonna first bless the project. And so you're gonna be overseeing whatever council approved.
okay,
So you're already limited to whatever they approved.
I
okay,
don't think they're gonna, I don't think they're gonna hold us accountable for the minutia anyway, especially on an issue like that where it's really
yeah,
a trap slash city slash chamber
yeah,
slash anybody else who's gonna have to get involved with this. Cause it's such a big thing.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Thank-
There's just. no-
I don't mind helping out.
Let's go back to the lights. Let's say this was the
Yeah.
lights. Council said, yes, we want to do it. Parks Committee went ahead and worked on everything. They would shoot you a memo that says, hey, we did this. Thank you so much. This was great. They've been installed. This is the program and how we're doing it. You probably never hear from them again because it's a one and done kind of thing.
Okay.
As opposed to something like accessibility, which would be an ongoing. So you're gonna have one thing, like, let's just say the sign, which would be great that nobody ever has time to address.
Yes.
You would say, here's our proposal, we would get it done, and then once that sign's up, you guys are good.
Yeah.
You know, but then you might come up one day and say, hey, that sign's looking a little dirty,
Yeah, right,
you know?
right.
Okay,
So I think it's pretty broad what you guys would be doing, just an oversight. It's kind of like it's your projects. You're seeing it, making sure it's what you guys were envisioning.
That makes sense to me.
okay, that
Okay.
makes sense.
And that's what happens with parks and a lot of other committees too. Parks is a great example because they've got 12 days, they've got a few other things. They have little subcommittees that meet. They say, this is what we want to do, here's how we're gonna do it, and they kind of follow up and they monitor it and they see what's going on. You know, what is it called? The Heritage Tree. They've been working on that for a couple of
I know.
years. That's one of their pet projects and, you know, it took a while to get to where they wanted it to be. Council said, yeah, this is great, and they have their first Heritage Tree.
Right.
And that's something that they'll always, I mean, that's actually has it written into where they go and they prove it anyways, but
Right.
it's just something that they've worked on for a while, slowly.
Yeah,
Okay.
Time allows.
So Ashley didn't like serve as the public face.
I think she just didn't like the wording. She
Okay.
just said advise on issues related to, which,
Yeah.
is fine.
Okay,
I think the only difference, sort of what I was kind of hearing people say in here, and I don't know if advise captures that, but we would be and I guess maybe it's spelled out here. Basically, we would be the recipients
yeah,
of public ideas.
Right.
yeah,
Let's say collect and vet ideas related to tourism north from the community. That's us.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking of in terms of being the face of. and
Right.
That's why I was using that word, but as long as we're capturing that idea that if, somebody's walking down the street one day and goes, geez, it would be great if
Yep.
they would come to us
Yeah.
and we would be the ones who would take that idea and either run with it or
As long as we're sure.
ask them what they were smoking when they came up with it.
Bill, and I think it was before you were off, we had talked about, and I think Libby, you were already on, we talked about if we could do a mailer to the community that says, what would you like to see tourism
Yeah,
funding
yes.
on? We could do something like that, because number one, it's all tourism related, we could use the mailer with tourism dollars, and we can ask the community, what is it that you want to see and what is it you want to prioritize? You could take all of their feedback and then go from that and start kind of seeing what you want, so there is definitely a lot of, not only people on the street are coming to the meeting, we could do like the survey that we talked about once, or we can do it online. I mean, there's definitely a lot of ways to gather feedback.
okay, I like that idea.
Booth at the farmer's market.
B. I'm apt to omit when requested by council, although, yes, they've asked us for ideas, but I'd like to think it's a two-way street that we would voice
Yeah.
it, whether it came from our direction or their direction.
Well, the A is coming from our direction and B is coming from their direction, don't you think? That's how I'm reading it.
I
Okay,
have it on A also,
okay,
which I see what you're saying though, because that's really what the purpose of this committee is to make recommendations to
Yeah.
council.
Right.
So,
But I could see where if somebody had said something to a counselor and they're like, hey, well, why aren't we doing that? And maybe it's something that we looked at and it's like, yeah, we like that, but these other things are a bigger priority. Here's how we were thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking out loud. It seems like that could be, because, you know, they're gonna get grabbed at the post office.
Oh, yeah.
and Walking on the beach and say, hey, why aren't you guys doing this?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it from that angle.
I love perform other functions as directed by city council.
Oh, I don't know what.
Here's the show.
Let's cross that out. Delete.
See how those bathrooms over there. Wait a second, I didn't sign up for that.
Yes, you did. It's in the original. It's in the original.
Tourism related functions. Well, the bathrooms are.
Where are you sending them now, Julie?
Well, there's porta potties, but.
Oh, there are porta potties.
On the weekends. it's
Well,
good.
now, you just hit on something that maybe does make sense, rather than leave it just broad other functions specified, tourism function. Perform
Could
other
be.
tourism functions.
I'm gonna
That make
be an
you feel better?
information aide. No, I'm kidding.
Because we use that
Yeah,
language.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Arts, yeah, keep arts.
Yeah, there you go.
Definitely keep arts in there.
And I can't tell who added that. Is that Ashley or was that us?
I'm not even.
The perform other functions, I'll tell you, that was because it literally was in the original.
It was in the. original.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I just.
Tom, you're
I
trying
just-
to get us down with shovels.
I just moved it down there.
So what are we changing that one to?
Perform other,
Other tourism and arts functions as directed by city council. What are the bathrooms gonna be done, by the way?
Yeah, that was my question.
Shoot, she just said this the other day.
Do you know,
You guys remember?
We're looking before the beginning of the season.
I'm sorry, what?
I think we're looking at before the beginning of season.
I think they were supposed to be
Yeah,
done first. Was it before spring break or summer break?
Oh, we have to.
before spring.
We do winter, through winter?
Because
Oh,
it's the
dear.
slowest time.
Oh, yeah,
So-
except for the weekends.
Wow.
Getting cleaned appropriately and then guess where they're ending up.
We'll definitely call Public Works. and
I
never you
did.
get- Okay.
I have,
Yeah.
I called, I
That's,
texted.
we've had problems, when you remember when we were putting portables out there for a while, it is horrible because no matter what, they just get trashed and, yeah.
Okay, I'll text them.
She is out of the country right now.
Oh, blackout. Oh, that's
So-
right, she didn't.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, if you guys are good with this, I will update these. We just, clarify why we want the 70% and 1% in. Ask her why we removed that one section in A, the commission shall ensure the proper implementation, ask her that. And then we added in. It's so hard because I can't tell what color I was. right now. Added in tourism and arts.
In the perform other functions at the end, did we do anything in between or just pretty much accept her?
I think we're gonna just accept, yeah, because we discussed the
Recommendations.
public face versus advise.
Yeah. And then we're gonna add, perform tourism and arts functions.
Yep, for C.
Yeah.
I added that as C, and then we, on A for make recommendations concerning tourism and arts to council, we added develop, draft and present proposals, blah, 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 and I took out B. So, yeah.
Okay. I'd like to see it cleaned up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna clean this up and then.
She still has to approve it again,
She
right?
still has to prove it, and then Lisa is not in council this month, she's out of the country. So it's a good thing for us to do this in November, because she'll be back and, she loves this kind of stuff, so we, they wouldn't make a decision probably until she was back, so we can clean this up with Ashley. I'll send you guys the final, and then we'll, at the end of this meeting, we need to talk about future meetings anyways. And then we can talk about, I'll just tentatively schedule it for the November work session.
Okay.
Because if council says, yes, this is great in this November, we would do a ordinance change in December. And then your guys' purview would then be broader. And then that would coincide with what we want to do with the packet this year, the half packet, if we want to change it, if you want to add other things, however we want to do it. And actually, I'm gonna update my agenda notice count or my upcoming agendas now, right now, so I don't forget. So we have you guys in November.
Doing that, I have another question about North Coast Land Conservancy came and asked us for money for the coast walk.
Mhm.
But my understanding is they are not doing it next year. They decided they're not doing it.
Well, they only do Cannon Beach every other year.
No, they're not doing it at all
Oh, at
anymore.
all. Oh,
Oh,
They just said it's too much work. So my understanding is unless they couldn't have been asking for money for this year because we met them in June and that happened in September.
I think it was this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay, if it was this year, then that's fine.
Yes,
Okay.
it was for this year, and they knew the timing and how it would kind of fit in, so.
Okay.
I know that there was, so on their welcome material, they inadvertently had the wrong address. On their welcome stuff, they had City Hall's address instead of the Chamber's address. And so Cassio was scrambling at the last minute, trying to get a hold of people and,
Gotcha.
which is a shame because it's a great program.
It's a
Yeah.
Great program, yeah.
Yeah, my friend does it every year and she said, they explained, it's essentially just like it was too much work. And so they couldn't do it anymore, so, okay, so that was for this year, so
That
that's
was
fine.
this year,
All right. Never mind.
That's it for the line items that we had mentioned. Do we, Jennifer, any reason to?
Well, so you guys want to talk about the application or you want to talk about chamber? We got a letter from the chamber.
I guess I just want to kind of clarify the process if someone applies, for a grant in my own mind. I know that they are cut checks quarterly. Is that based on expenses submitted or it's a quarter of what their grant is?
It's a quarter of what their grant is.
So if they haven't spent it, then they have remaining funds sitting.
Yeah, so they're
In
gonna
there.
get funds no matter what. So
Okay.
their checks going out are independent of you guys doing evaluations.
Okay.
All of that stuff. So what happens is finance, like we gave them the recommendations that council awarded. And they will, August and whatever the other months are, each one of those months, they will get a quarter of their
Okay,
Their funds. And if
Okay.
they don't spend it,
then,
after they've received it, we get it back.
okay,
And sometimes they don't know that they are not gonna spend it all until the very end, and sometimes Get Lit never even got a check because they said, we're not gonna spend it. During COVID, it's
yeah,
like, they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
we're not
doing it,
sending it.
send us a check.
Okay. So for instance, in this letter that Jim sent, there was
Constant problem.
unused funds for the video project and unused funds for the Fat Bike Festival. And then he received funds in August, but he's saying, so he's looking at trying to not do it quarterly and do it like kind of a,
Same problem with everybody. It's like the yoga festival was the perfect example. Now, that was when we started out when we didn't have reserve.
Yeah.
So the problem is, the yoga festival needed to sign up teachers for future, but we didn't have any money to give them until until that check comes through,
Yeah.
that was it. So she would have had to have promised this money based on us not having given recommendation yet.
okay,
So, and we were always talking about, what if we had a reserve, so we could say let's say Fat Bike ended up at a weird time, so that the check wouldn't come until after the event. That we could actually say, yes, we approved this $7,000 and we're gonna write you the $7,000 check now out of the reserves. And that if there's money that's not spent by the end of that, then we get the money back. And rather than doing, 2,500, that's what he's talking about. This has been a problem since the very beginning. This is not a new problem. So I don't know. We do have reserves. I don't know if that's even allowed. Is that part of the ordinance?
No,
That's
I don't
quarterly?
believe, I don't, that could be in our TAP guidelines, it probably says that, so if we wanted to change that, we might have to change it there. I mean, that is definitely something you can look at, community grants obviously are much lower, but that's a one and done check. Maybe this is something you guys
Oh.
wanna do as a one and done check, because you do have the reserves, the only thing about that would be is if ever the money slowed down.
Mhm.
But, you guys definitely, we can't spend it as quick as it's coming in, there's over $1 million sitting in there.
Right.
So if that was something you wanna do, we could talk about it to say, we wanna fund these people up front. And they, maybe even then I'm just thinking out loud, because if you're giving them, that much money at once, you might want more evaluations throughout the process of where you're at with them. Maybe
Yeah.
something that they just email, quick one page that fills out questions of where you're at on this. It's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Want to see it possibly, because I know it's in our grant application, but we have one of these documents in here. It probably says the quarterly thing, but that's one of the things we're gonna look at updating.
Yeah. I mean, that seems with the reserve built more feasible than creating a nightmare of multiple accounting, I mean, that's not an option. So that's,
Earlier,
know.
it was not a possibility because there was no reserve, there was no
Yeah.
nothing. It was, we had to wait for the money to come in and then we cut the check. So
Yeah.
whenever the TLT funds came in, we would then go ahead and cut the checks. So that's why it was a quarterly thing. But now it's, there's a reserve, which we only dreamed of in the early
Yeah.
days, so.
And this is, I think, when we go through our guidelines. That would be, I don't see it right off the top looking for it, but I'm sure it is in here somewhere.
So if we revise that though, I think we should build some flexibility into it. Just say that we have the option of cutting one check or doing it quarterly, because you're right. At the moment, we've got the reserve. That's
Yep.
great. But something might happen at some point and we don't have it.
Right.
So let's not be locked into having to do that
Right.
one-time check. But at the same time, let's create the possibility of doing it.
Right.
So.
And would it have to be either or, one check or quarterly, or would you half upfront, half
Maybe
it?
do half it.
Does that create a nightmare for accounting?
No, because they're already doing it 4 times a year now. You would only be doing it twice a year then.
Okay.
So I mean,
But easier
definitely.
for them.
So the finance department would be able to deal with us on whatever we decided to do for, because they might all be different. It seemed to me like when Gitlet was
Oh.
coming around, like Gitlet got most of their money up front and then their last check came right before the event. But there have been others where the yoga festival is the one that comes to my mind, where she was also trying to pay instructors ahead of time, which was a separate deal, but she started her event and then the money came in later.
Yeah.
And it all had to do with the timing of the
Right.
event.
I don't think you could do it either or. Everyone needs to be the same. But, because that would make it a nightmare. But if you cut it from 4 payments to 2 payments a year, easy peasy. If you did it instead of quarterly, maybe you did one like half now and half at the other end. But the same thing is just happening, what happened with the Coast Walk. They finished their event. This is basically reimbursing them.
Yeah, right,
So,
Yeah.
right. But some people don't have that flexibility, like
Right.
Kristen, poor Kristen, she was doing it out of her own pocket.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that's risky, so.
So for instance, in the chamber, the video project stuff happens when it happens. I mean, I don't think there's a set time of year he's doing that. So it really, the issue was the timing of the fat tire and the reimbursement.
well, I'm not actually sure what the issue is because he knew what the timeframe was when you get the money.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. And I think we're all very sympathetic when you are having a person that's
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
get money on their own.
Yeah.
But these are things that you plan every year. You know when the funding's coming in. You
Yeah.
know what month they're coming in.
Yeah.
And the check was cut early in the month. I think it just possibly didn't get processed through them
Okay.
until later.
Yeah,
I read his
So-
letter too, and I'm a little confused, so
okay.
I don't
Yeah.
understand. So, but whatever we do, it's not a Gitlet gets theirs all up front and these people get
No.
quarterly. It has to be one,
needs to be-
we're gonna have to do it for everybody.
everybody,
Okay,
yeah.
so there's less flexibility, but.
Yeah, but there's still some.
Yeah.
Yeah, still some.
Could you say that as long as we have reserves, we can cut the check once a year, but then if the reserves aren't there, that they would have to wait quarterly? something like that.
Oh, yeah, and I think we can actually make that determination when you guys are doing, when we're doing our application, we can tell them up front because when we're doing the application, we already know kind of what we're coming in, how your money's sitting.
Yeah.
You know, like this year you had over $1 million, we could have definitely said, yeah, we can do this.
Yeah.
If we're doing it one year and we're thinking, oh my gosh, this definitely isn't gonna happen, we would put a big bold notice, please note, checks will be paid quarterly this year.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we can definitely look at
Okay.
it. as
Okay.
it-
Yeah, because if we're doing some of these other projects that we decide to
Yeah.
do, that could bring those reserves
Bigger.
down.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, between
Yeah.
your pet project and my pet project, we could put a tent in that.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any concern of loss of interest if we're front funding? I mean, I assume with the reserves that we're not,
Well,
it won't be sitting in
Oh,
the city's bank account. No, yeah,
oh, that kind of interest.
yes, sorry. Monetary interest.
Okay, yeah.
The instructor says, he never counts on interest on anything, that's icing on the cake.
Okay,
So, because we talked about that. once.
okay,
And he's like, yeah, he goes, whenever you have interest, that's
okay,
extra. You can
okay,
Enjoy it.
okay.
But it's not budgeted.
okay, great. Yeah, I think that, you know. But,
So we would look at our packets after the ordinance is revised, correct?
Yeah, we can actually start looking at it now, because I don't know, I mean, I think the first thing we want to look at is our guidelines. And then we can look based off of what we want to change in the guidelines, we can make changes to the packet. What council would need to bless would be is if we wanted to. Well, the TAF grants are still gonna be the TAF grants, you're still doing the same type of thing, so it would be if you wanted to make a significant change, like allow something that's not nonprofit. You know, those are things that we would definitely need to bring to council and, yeah, I'm not making any sense because you're already.
We can't do that because Ashley would said the whole reason
Because
we're
then the
doing nonprofit, they have to
procurement.
go through the
Yeah,
procurement,
that's right.
the procurement problem.
Yeah.
mhm,
So,
I think as far as TAF goes, we're good to start making changes now because they're already tasked with doing TAF. We're asking them to let us do more than TAF.
Right.
So, yeah. My brain is fried today. I'm so sorry.
No, no.
Yeah. So yeah, we can start talking about this. We can look at the guidelines, because this is where we base everything off of, is the guidelines. So we want to look and see what things we want to change. You know, this still talks about overnight tourism. We might want to, we did take out the one document,
the graph,
the graph.
yeah,
But I think we should all look at this and see what we want to change in this.
Yeah, so what I would like to do, rather than do that today, because I haven't really had time to read through that.
Yeah.
I would rather see that maybe in a future meeting and send it out, so we have time to kind of read through the guidelines and make notes on what we think, and then I think we could have a more meaningful. We tried to do.
Definitely. I think so too.
the guidelines are in here, right?
yeah,
Since mine went scattered in my car. Application,
and
this is there. This is the stuff with the blue.
Yeah, it's after the blue stuff,
Oh, it
after
is.
the
Oh,
ordinance.
There's the ordinance, okay.
Yeah, I think there's like another ordinance.
I got you. Ah,
That looks like.
okay, gotcha. Okay, I got it.
okay, so we need to
Okay.
go through that.
This is where we base everything off of, like, somewhere in here was where it says that, about we give preference to off-season events. I can't remember
Yes.
how it's worded,
Yeah, yeah.
but it doesn't say we don't allow them.
Uh-huh.
It just says they're given preference. And so I think that would be a good starting point. And based off of how we change this, we would change the application.
Okay.
Can you remind me, or the 50 miles and the overnight, those were all things that we added, not state
50
requirement,
miles is
correct?
State.
That's
part of the-
state?
That's part of the ordinance.
Okay.
That's what they can.
I need to go back and-
Tourist.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yes.
What we put in the past, we put more emphasis on heads and beds.
yes,
Which we're kind of, as long as you're bringing in somebody from out of the area, I think is more the purpose now. So there's a lot less focus on heads and beds.
gotcha.
Because it's just, we want to know that you are traveling more than 50 miles. You're a tourist that are coming in, but not so much about heads and beds.
Okay, yeah.
which makes sense because we want to be supporting the restaurants as well as the
Yes.
hotels.
Yep.
So.
And the art
as well as
galleries.
the, you know,
Although the
local
hotels
galleries and
provides us with
local
our
merchants.
money.
Oh, and one of the things we had talked about before, when we were talking about our ordinance changes and the arts, and I had said we have to be careful because there's a whole procurement process. There is an actual exemption in our new municipal language about arts. So when you're procuring arts, it is a different process.
Interesting.
So yeah, I was kind of worried because I'm like, well, when you do this procurement, there's all these rules that work. I was looking up something else and I saw a different section for procurement of arts.
What does it say about it?
I can't remember everything, but it was definitely not as strict and stringent
Okay.
as, you get
Three bids,
or
yeah.
this. There's a whole different, you have a lot more leeway with
Because you
arts.
certainly couldn't get 3 quotes on
Right.
a chicken statue.
Yeah. Like you do, artists, come present your things because, they're not in here anymore. We had some paintings up here. I remember not long after I started when the artists came in and they gave sketches and they showed what they wanted to make. So it is a definite different process.
Okay.
Our procurement codes have changed and I'm not up to date on them by any means. And so every time I have to look up, I find something new in there. So I was like, well, that's great because that makes
Cool.
the art process less cumbersome.
Well, at some point on that issue, I think I mentioned before, I've kind of done a draft of a proposed policy.
Yeah.
And I kind of put it on the back burner till we got this revision done because,
Right.
but I would like to bring that up as soon as the revision's approved and for discussion with this group to see if that's something we want to present.
Okay,
Just so that we have a policy, at least we know,
yeah,
so. I guess we call it a policy, it's more like guidelines, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something to live off of, because that's what we have for TAF, we
Yeah.
have our guidelines.
Yeah.
We have guidelines for art as well, which
Like
makes
the
sense.
pirates code, they just, well, they're sort of guidelines.
okay, so the guidelines we'll all review. And go over that.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you wanted next meetings.
Yeah, we'll need to schedule our next meeting.
Are they not they're having council meetings without Lisa, aren't they?
Yes, we are having them, but we took off a lot of things there is a appeal that we couldn't move because of the deadline, the 120-day deadline. A lot of stuff we bumped until November, things that she'd want to be a part of, like the chamber meeting. There was a few other just overview things that start out at a work session that she'd want to be a part of.
Okay. Right, it's zooming in, oh, brother.
Oh, no, she is in a foreign country.
Yep,
Yeah. That was yesterday.
I wish I was. You were in a foreign country yesterday? Canada?
No, Cayman Brock,
What's that?
Cayman Islands.
Oh, wow.
Very nice.
Dang, and you're back now? That's why you're tan.
That's also why I'm half awake.
Very
Okay,
nice.
Calendar. It's my last day of closing at 5. Yeah.
Go up to 4?
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Everybody is waiting, please. Boy, we've gotten soft since COVID. I never did it. Stay at 5. Remember when you used to have to be in here at 10? Come on. We've gotten all soft since COVID.
Well,
So how, what I'm gonna do on the guidelines is I'm gonna send you guys a Word and a PDF. So if you wanted to make edits in it just for yourself.
Oh, great.
Check things out, but I will send that to the commission so we have that.
Oh, Thanksgiving is late this year.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then, do you guys want to meet in October to keep this going
On the guidelines?
on the guidelines?
Specifically? I'm
Sure.
fine with that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Is there a specific week that works best for people? Let me get the chamber.
Are we keeping it till Monday?
If Monday works well for everyone,
Mondays and.
I would say
Tuesday.
The 14th is
for
Indigenous Peoples' Day or Columbus Day, depending on which one you
Yeah.
want to acknowledge.
Actually, let's talk about how long you want to have to review the guidelines, I guess, too. Everyone wants a couple weeks, I would think.
Mhm.
You're fitting this in with everything else in
Yeah.
life. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
would like
if
to
I'm looking
later.
at a Monday, I'm looking at the 21st.
Yeah, me too. That would be good.
Yeah.
The 28th would even be fine, but the 21st.
I'm out of town on the
Oh,
28th.
you are?
Yeah.
okay, 21st is good. If I know later works best for Drea, 3 o'clock works just because if you need more than an hour, but does that still work okay for you, Drea?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, so let's do Monday, the 21st at 3 p.m.
3 PM. Okay.
I may end up having a Zoom, but that's fine.
Um,
All righty.
All right, let's put that in here. I'm gonna reserve the room. Council chambers.
Yeah, wicked on that.
So at that meeting, we can look at the guidelines, but we should have this back from Ashley as well, and maybe we can just, look at that, and if she doesn't make any major changes, I suppose we can just put our stamp of approval on it and say, okay, ready for recommendation to council.
So I will, clean it up. Because it's, yeah, a little mess. Ask her a couple questions, clean it up and just say, hey, I'll send her the track changes version and the clean version, everything changed. And then shoot it out to her and say, hey, what's your thoughts? Here's where we are. What were you thinking on this? These are the changes. And if she says, yes, I'm good with this, I will let you guys know right away. And then you guys can approve it officially at that next October meeting. And then it would go on the November work session.
Okay.
okay,
That sounds good.
that works.
And then if she has some significant changes, I'll email them out to you guys and just say, hey, start thinking about this.
Okay.
Okay. Good, good, good. Well,
October 21st at.
and then I guess we'll get feedback from Ashley regarding sea turtles and see if we need to add that to the agenda for October or not.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think we're all on the right page, on the
Yeah.
right track with what she would say, because that's what she said in the past.
Okay.
We're not getting quite what we would need to make it as an event.
Yeah.
It was definitely a good shot. Council, I think, was the one that first mentioned it to him, but to make it an event, you need a bigger marketing presence, and that would be unfortunately.
okay, any other questions? Are we ready to adjourn? Adjourn. Thank you. Thank